You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Let's go, baby, from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Hello, New Orleans. You're listening to the Sport Coma, your number one podcast on everything Saints and a lot more. And now, here's your host, Big Q and the guys.
Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports family. I'm Big Q, and this is podcast 391 of the Sports Coma, episode 391. And if you don't know, we are the number one independent Saints podcast in the land, baby. Welcome aboard. Podcast 391 is underway, and today's episode we're going to be covering the Saints' latest moves and machinations as they did pick up and ink big defensive lineman Ziggy Hood. Now, we've been covering the fact that the Saints could possibly be going in the direction of picking up talent at the defensive lineman position. Never had this one going on, family. Didn't have this one. Didn't have Ziggy Hood as a guy that the Saints were ultimately looking at. Of course, we're dealing with the loss of Sheldon Rankins for at least the first month of the season, possibly month and a half going into the season. The one-game suspension unfairly of David Onyemata by the chump commissioner Roger Goodell. Y'all look out for them new chump commissioner shirts that will be coming out real soon. But it's just the Saints really doing excellent. They're doing some really, really nice moves. I really appreciate what they're doing to build this team going forward. But we'll talk about Ziggy Hood's new deal with the Saints. Well, we'll break down and tell you what he is. And, of course, the Saints did try out some people today at the defensive back position. What does it mean? We know the last guy the Saints signed was Kevon Webster, the 7/8 year veteran come over from the Rams. He played with Denver. You know, a lot of experience there with Kevon Webster. They brought him in and, of course, signed him. Now the Saints are looking at two defensive backs. We'll give you some information on them. Plus, later on in the show, we'll hit you with an interview from Coach Payton coming from the Rich Eisen show where he talks about Brees Age and a few other topics. So we'll have that going for you today on the Sports Coma. So without further ado, before we get going, I'd like to say for you guys to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, as well as like the show and get more people to the podcast. Now, let's get underway with this thing. Ziggy Hood, man, could anybody for a second thought, did think that the Saints possibly would have made a move. Now, according to NFL.com and ESPN that covered this, Ziggy agreed to a deal with the Saints on the eve of training camp. Now, Ziggy's 32 years old. He will complete for a backup roster spot, tackle, or in position. Now, this is something that that's not really a big surprise in terms of the Saints actually going into the area of looking for defensive linemen that can provide depth based on some of the things I just mentioned. But what kind of gets it is the fact that I would picture in my mind that the Saints would actually go after and try to sign maybe an edge rusher, being that I would perceive that would be a position of need for New Orleans behind Davenport. And then you look at a few the other things. Now, the Saints did sign Sylvester Williams from Miami, the massive defensive tackle, the backup. The line with David Onyemata going for a game. Because behind him, of course, you got guys like Taylor Stallworth, inexperienced, and Mario Edwards Jr., who's more of a tweener defensive lineman, is there. But this is Ziggy Hood, 32 years old. He'll come in, and this was first, like I said, it's reported by the NFL Network. Now, you got starting three technique. Sheldon Rankins will begin camp on the physical unable to perform list while he recovers from that torn Achilles tendon he suffered back in January. Now, that was some news that came out. They put him on the PUP list we suspected that. Now, backup tackle Onyemata will be suspended for that week 1 situation. We still have other people that can help out: Sylvester Williams, David Onyemata, Taylor Stallworth, Myra Edwards Jr., and then you go into the undrafted guys, Kenny Bigelow, Grissom, all these other guys, Corbin Kafusi, that possibly can help at the defensive line position. Now, Hood's a 6'3", 305-pound guy and just 9 tackles in 13 games with the Washington Redskins and Dolphins last season. But he's a former first-round pick that started 73 games over his 10 years with the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Bears, Redskins, and Dolphins, and has 14 career sacks and 231 tackles. Now, he was primarily used as a 3-4 end in his career, but also spent time at nose tackle with the Washington because of injuries to other players. Now, remember, the Saints did also bring in Malcolm Brown, who was a major signing for the team earlier in the year to replace Tyler Davison, who betrayed the Saints fan base and went signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Also, Myra Edwards Jr. was a guy, I mentioned him, and I already missed Sylvester Williams, is guys that have come in and provide veteran leadership there. So, big move for the Saints bringing Ziggy Hood in here. Very peculiar because I was thinking in my mind that the Saints would possibly look at approaching an edge rusher. Now, it's still not too late for them to try to make a move to get an edge rusher, but Ziggy Hood's a real interesting dude. More of a tackle end, but 32 years old. I don't even suspect that the Saints could possibly think about using Ziggy Hood at the end position, maybe at a nose tackle position, a nose tackle or D tackle position, the interior position, basically what I'm saying, as providing depth there. But he could go outside if you need be. But, I mean, what can I tell you? Not much sack production in 10 years from him because that's not his game. And 14 sacks in a 10-year career? Nah, that's not much of a he's not going to help you in that facet of the game. But Ziggy Hood's inked by the Saints. The breakdown on the move is pretty much, it's just the insurance. I'm getting the feeling that it's an insurance move for the Saints. Dealing with Onyemata, dealing with the fact that Sheldon Rankins is not there. Like I said, Sylvester Williams, Myra Edwards Jr., those guys also provide depth too. Interesting moves on the defensive line to see exactly how that'll pan out. Going to our next topic, the Saints didn't stop there and making a few moves. They also worked out Deshaun Shead to come here, and I don't know if you could pronounce that either Shead or Shead, however you pronounce it. But he's a guy that came here and he was a starter for the Seattle Seahawks in 2016. He worked out for the team Tuesday evening. Now, he's a 7-year veteran, spent 6 years of his career with the Seahawks, appearing in 54 games, including 22 starts, and playing in 12 contests with Detroit last year. He's ended last season on injury reserve, compiling about 18 tackles and 7 NFL seasons. He's a 30-year-old cornerback who played his collegiate ball at Portland State, has accumulated 168 tackles and 2 interceptions for Deshaun Shead. Now, what's the interesting part about Deshaun Shead is the fact that the Saints, I thought it was over with. Now, this is a surprise move that the Saints, now they're not, perhaps they'll sign this guy, perhaps not. But the Saints have did a pretty decent move in adding depth behind Eli Apple and Marshawn Lattimore. They've got a healthy Patrick Robinson returning. They did sign who the local papers and all these experts, supposed to be experts, keep forgetting Kayvon Webster's on the team. He's an experienced cornerback with just as much time in the NFL as Patrick Robinson. And he also has a Super Bowl ring. So he is on the team as well. And then behind him, you have guys like Justin Hardy, PJ Williams, Ken Crawley, and you're probably not going to use Marcus Shrells at the defensive back unless something really terrible is happening as far as injuries are concerned. But those are some of the guys that the Saints have. What does it mean to have just a guy like Deshaun Shead to come in and try out for you? And wait, there's more. The Saints also worked out Broncos safety Jordan Moore today. Now, Moore played college ball at TCU and University of Texas at Austin. University of Texas at San Antonio, and signed with the Atlanta Falcons as undrafted free agent last season before being released. And then he was added to the Broncos practice squad before being released in September. So what the heck does that mean now? What does that mean? The fact that the Saints tried out could mean something, could mean nothing. Saints tried out Deshaun Shead today and also Jordan Moore, safety. So the Saints looking high and low, looking to add talent as camp coming in. Well, we expected as much from the Saints organization, to be quite honest with you, for them to add talent, to come in and bring in some guys that could possibly help out. I'm still maybe anticipating looking at that edge rusher, a guy that could possibly come in and help behind Marcus Davenport. That's something that, we've been saying about the third edge rusher is a hole there. It's a big gaping hole. Saints trying out two cornerback. Now, Shead is interesting, man. A very interesting move for the Saints to try out Shead. He's just 30 years old. He has good size on him, and that playing next to guys like Richard Sherman. Interesting to see what the Saints are looking at there. Could mean something, could mean absolutely nothing. But let's go into our next topic. We had Coach Sean Payton appear on the Rich Eisen show, and he was asked questions about Drew Brees' future and other things. Let's hear what the coach had to say about when asked about Drew Brees' age and a few other topics. Here we go.
Honestly, and I've been asked that a few times, not once. I mean, not even like a tingly dance around it at all. I feel like, number one, you don't see age when you're around somebody so much. It's not until their children come running in the stairwell or in the meeting rooms or that you're like, wow, everyone's growing up. But it isn't something that we discuss. There are a lot of other things that we cover, but there's never that sit down. Hey, let's spend some time here and talk about the next couple of years, because I think. Look, he's so competitive, and I think like any one of us in our work industry or our job, until we don't feel like we can perform to the level we've been used to, then I think that he looks at it, I'm sure, on a year-to-year basis, just like, quite frankly, I do.
Well, I mean, I'm already hearing in certain parts of my industry that last year, certainly in the last few weeks of the season, Brees wasn't as productive at the position, and maybe that's the beginning of the lowering of the curve. What did you see from your position?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I mean, I thought, he played extremely well down the stretch. We had a playoff win against Philadelphia that he had a huge part in a game against the Rams that, quite honestly, very well could have put us in the Super Bowl, and I would have loved to have seen that game. But I think that realistically, as we grade the film and look at the player, there hasn't been that moment where we've looked and thought, man, back in the day we used to complete those. I don't think we've seen that. And that's a good thing.
Sure. Sean Payton here from the New Orleans Saints here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay. I'm going to bring this up with you. And I'm sure, as you pointed out last time, every human being brings it up with you. The pass interference that didn't get called in the NFC Championship game. And you, as a member of the competition committee, certainly helped spearhead the change that we're going to see this fall, at least for 1 year. Al Riveron, the head of NFL refs, came and presented to the NFL media group how this is going to work. And we were all stunned in the room, Sean, to be very honest with you, because we couldn't agree half the time on whether a play was OPI or DPI, or would we have thrown a flag on the play in real time, or would we have picked it up through replay? Would we have instituted a flag on the field for all that stuff? And all that conversation, including looking under the hood and seeing, because instant replay, you could review whatever is reviewable, OPI, offensive pass interference, being called via replay to make an offsetting penalty. And none of that stuff is what I believe was the intent of what you spearheaded. I wonder what you think about the potential unintended consequences of this 1 year project.
Well, hopefully they're minimal. We're not splitting an atom here. And I think sometimes we collectively can certainly complicate things ourselves. We're from the very beginning, clear and obvious has been a standard that the coaches have spoken about. We understand that if it goes to, and let's back up, I think, for the fan, just to make sure that everyone understands it. These challenges are going to fall just like our normal challenges do. And so I don't think you're going to have or see a lot of them. We still start the game with 2 challenge flags. And, it's 2019. I kid all the time, but it's literally a challenge flag is a orange handkerchief with 2 ounces of sand and 2 rubber bands around it. And when we disagree with the call, we launch that onto the field. So
that's Coach Sean Payton, man. Before we get into too much technical about all that other stuff dealing with the pass interferences and all that, I think we done had our feel on that. And that's another aspect of the NFL that we're going to keep an eye on. But this is, it's interesting to see. It still puts it in the control of the people that made the mistake in the first place about blowing a call like that, and it was obvious why they blew the call. We're not going to get into it. If you want to hear it, you can go back and listen to my breakdown during the NFC Championship game in the section, in our historical section of what our past shows are. Feel free to investigate that. Anyway, let's get back to the rest of the Saints news. As you can hear, dealing with Coach Payton was talking about the age or whatnot about Drew Brees. Drew Brees last year threw for almost 4,000 yards. He was fantastic, led a passing attack that was ranked 12th in the NFL, 252.6. I expect that to go up between 280 and 300, possibly past 300 with the addition of some of the weapons that we have. Jared Cook will help that in a major capacity. We didn't have a steady tight end, had more of a tight end by committee approach last season. It'll be good to see eventually that the Saints get back into, utilizing the tight end. And I just think Jared Cook's the best tight end you had here since Jimmy Graham. So it'd be interesting to see with all those weapons, we could see Drew Brees still ascend. We talk about his arm strength and all that kind of stuff, but Drew is just accurate as most of them in the league. And when he needs to, he'll throw that damn ball down the field. But anyway, let's get into the rest of the news. Now, we talked about Sheldon Rankins. He'll start the camp on a physical unable to perform list as expected while he recovers from that torn Achilles. Now, be cool, because we all know that Rankins can be taken off the list at any time he's healthy and ready to practice. But he will only be eligible for the regular season PUP list if he remains sidelined throughout all the training camp and preseason. Another little item, a little giblet, a nugget to pass on you about Emmanuel Butler is the fact that we covered Emmanuel Butler last show where we talked about him getting injured. Of course, our latest report came out saying that Emmanuel Butler, now this is from NOLA.com, the local paper, saying that he passed his physical and he will be ready for camp. Now, remember, we covered this before on Monday. He was designated as passing the physical. Early in the week, he was put on the 9-football injury list for an ailment that occurred last Thursday. But obviously, the 6'4", 220-pound receiver is past his physical and is back, and it will be ready for camp. 6'4", 220. This guy has produced he had 2 1,000-yard campaigns with Northern Arizona when he played. Very productive wide receiver. A lot of people don't know this guy, but I'm very interested to see exactly what Emmanuel Butler will do for the Saints. Big wide receiver, can catch, very productive. Might be a gem here. We're going to keep an eye out on Emmanuel Butler as well. Now, also another little piece of information to give to you. We talked about the fact that Deshaun Shead or Shead, whatever, I would say Shead. He's a 6'2" cornerback with a 4.5 40-yard dash time. Now, what's interesting about him is that, like I said, he signed with Seattle as an undrafted free agent back in 2012. He became a member of the Legion of Boom. He also won a Super Bowl with Seattle by beating Denver. 30 years old, big cornerback, not very fast, but perhaps the Saints might be looking to kind of upgrade there, over what they have. Now, they did add Kevon Webster, but this is an attempt to push the rest of those guys like a P.J. Williams or Ken Crawley off the off that. Is Shead an upgrade over Crawley or PJ Williams? You know, I mean, you can look at him and his statistics is showing that he could be quite productive in those guys, but competition all around, I love it, man. But that'll do it for the show today. Thanks you guys for joining us on the Sports Coma. If you like the show, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, also hit the like button if you like the show as well. Share it with your friends and put it on the whatever Saints pages and socialize wherever you go to bring the show with you. I'm Big Q. Thank you for joining us. Catch us on our live stream every Saturday at 12 o'clock noon Central Time. That's right, on YouTube. For all you guys out there, check us out on our live stream. Thank you for joining us. Peace.
If you haven't heard the Sports Coma, this is what you're missing. Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is the Sports Coma with Big Q. The guys intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Embrace Pet Insurance is more than just pet insurance. Embrace Pet Insurance promises to provide genuine support and certainty when your pet needs it the most. With personalized accident and illness policies, compassionate customer care, 24/7 access to veterinary professionals, flexible wellness plans, timely claims processing, and online customer portals, their values is what makes them Embrace. So, when selecting a pet insurance company as a partner in your pet's care, you deserve a company that has your pet's best interests at heart. Get top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Up to 90% back on bills at any vet, total protection, pet insurance and wellness, and dependable claims payments. Get the top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Go to EmbracePetInsurance.com. That's EmbracePetInsurance.com. Check the link in the description section below.
Are you a boxing fan? Check out Ring Kings Boxing only on the PRO Media Network.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Hit the link below and rep the black and gold today. Who that? Do you need a domain name? How about a host for your website that can work with WordPress? Try Namecheap.com. They make registering, hosting, and managing domain names for yourself or others easy and affordable because the internet needs people. Namecheap is an ICANN accredited domain register and technology company founded in 2000. It's one of the fastest growing American companies according to the 2018 Inc. 5000, celebrating nearly 2 decades of providing unparalleled levels of service, security, and support. Namecheap has been steadfast in customer satisfaction with over 10 million domains under management. Namecheap is among the top domain registers and web providers in the world. They offer a full selection of popular and unique domains along with fully featured hosting packages, SSL security certificates, WhoisGuard privacy protections, and more, all at the lowest prices in the industry. So if you need a domain name or hosting or anything else, think Namecheap.com. That's right, Namecheap.com. Check the description section below for link.